This module examines the availability heuristic, a critical cognitive bias that shapes decision-making in both personal and professional contexts. Understanding this mental shortcut is fundamental for improving judgment, risk assessment, and strategic thinking. Our objective is to deconstruct how ease of recall can distort our perception of reality, leading to systematic errors. By analyzing the underlying mechanism of this heuristic, we can develop practical strategies to mitigate its impact on our lives. We often believe our choices are based on logic, but our minds frequently prioritize information that is simply easier to remember rather than information that is objectively more accurate or relevant. Consider this. Are there more words in English that start with the letter K or more words that have K as the third letter? Most people instinctively answer that more words start with K. However, this is incorrect. The brain simply finds it much easier to recall words beginning with a specific letter. This mental shortcut, where ease of recall is mistaken for high frequency, is the availability heuristic. It is a psychological process where individuals judge the probability of an event by how easily examples come to mind. If we can think of it quickly, we assume it must be common or important. The core mechanism is the substitution of a difficult question with an easier one. The difficult question is, what is the statistical frequency of this event? The brain substitutes it with the easy question, how easily can I think of an example? This internal swap happens almost instantly without our conscious awareness. Information that is recent, vivid, or emotionally charged is more cognitively available. For instance, after extensive media coverage of a commercial airline incident, individuals may perceive air travel as significantly more dangerous than driving, despite statistical data proving the opposite. The vivid imagery of the incident overrides the abstract statistical reality. The availability of information is not purely internal. It is heavily manipulated by external factors. Repetitive exposure to a concept through news media, corporate communications, or social platforms artificially increases its availability. This constant repetition makes specific information seem far more important and prevalent than it actually is in reality. In a business context, a manager might overestimate the risk of a specific cybersecurity threat that was recently featured in industry reports. Consequently, they might underfund protection against more common but less publicized threats such as internal data leaks. This misallocation of resources is a direct result of distorted risk perception. This heuristic directly impacts professional judgment. In performance evaluations, a manager may give disproportionate weight to an employee's recent success or failure. This is known as recency bias, a form of the availability heuristic. The recent event is more available to memory than the employee's consistent performance over an entire year. Similarly, in financial markets, investors may flock to a stock that has been heavily publicized for recent gains. They overestimate its future potential based on its current visibility while ignoring less visible but fundamentally stronger assets. This behavior often leads to market bubbles and poor long-term investment strategies. The most significant consequence of this heuristic is the availability cascade. This is a social feedback loop where a perceived risk can spiral into mass belief and public panic. It begins when a media report on a relatively minor event triggers a small amount of public concern, which then grows exponentially. This initial concern generates more media coverage, which in turn makes the event even more available in the public mind. As the story spreads, it becomes a self-reinforcing cycle of increasing fear and belief. The more people talk about it, the more true and dangerous it seems to everyone involved. These cascades often lead to significant policy changes or large-scale social shifts. Unfortunately, these actions are frequently based on distorted risk perception rather than empirical evidence. When public pressure mounts due to an availability cascade, leaders may feel forced to act on fears that are not statistically justified. The availability heuristic reveals that human perception is not a direct reflection of objective reality, but a constructed model biased by memory's accessibility. Our minds are naturally wired to prioritize vivid, recent, and emotionally resonant data over abstract statistical facts. This realization is crucial for anyone seeking to think more clearly. Recognizing this bias is the first step toward more rational and evidence-based decision-making. The goal is not to eliminate this inherent shortcut, but to consciously question why certain information comes to mind so easily. To find the truth, we must actively seek out the data that remains hidden from view.